Jane Velez-Mitchell here for The Fix, and here's a question. How much of addiction do you think is inherited, and how much is down to circumstances or personal choice? It's an excellent question. I think that the shrinks would say it's multi-determined. That means that there's more than one reason usually why somebody becomes an addict. Certainly, inheritance can be a key factor. In my experience, with my personal story, I believe it was. On one side of my family, there is a lot of alcoholism, and my dad, who has passed away, was a high-functioning alcoholic, you might say. So I do feel that I inherited some kind of alcoholism gene. But there were also, I would call, environmental factors. When you grow up with an alcoholic and you see them drinking every night, you regard that as normal. So I didn't realize that people didn't have 3 or 4 martinis every night. I learned that the hard way when I got out into the real world. Then there's also the emotional component of why people drink. Fundamentally, people use whatever the drug is, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or food, or gambling, or sex, to stuff unpleasant feelings that we don't want to deal with, that will come up if we don't numb out or escape with some substance or behavior. So those feelings, those unpleasant emotions are really at the root of addiction, and we have to learn to sit through the feelings. So again, I don't think you can point to one thing and say that's why this person is an addict. It's usually a perfect storm of factors, and some of them we can deal with. When we get into a program of sobriety, there is absolutely nothing that says we cannot also go and get therapy to deal with some of our psychological and or emotional issues. It's often recommended. It's not a substitute, though, for a program of sobriety. It would work in tandem with a program of sobriety. So it's complicated, but at its root, this is a very simple program for very complicated people. It doesn't matter really why you're an addict. The main thing is that as an addict, I acknowledge that I am and that I surrender to being powerless over my substance of choice. Jane Velez-Mitchell, check me out weeknights on HLN, 7 p.m. Eastern.